So you wouldn't expect the average Trump voter to have any idea what they were voting for. They have no clue whatsoever. These people are mindless drones. There's not a damn one of them who can think for themselves. There's not a damn one of them who understands anything about any of the issues they claim to care about. All they do is mindlessly repeat whatever they hear their orange God King bleat out, or whatever they hear on Fox News. That's it. If you ever talk to these people, they all sound exactly the same. I mean, if you're friends with any of these people on Facebook, you know, because you grew up with these people and they turned into mindless Trump cultists and now you read their posts occasionally on Facebook or whatever, they all say the exact same thing. They've been programmed. They watch Fox News day after day for hour upon hour, and they hear the same things over and over and over again, and they repeat them as if they're original thoughts. And they're so proud when they do so. They think they're so smart, and their wealth of knowledge is so impressive. These people are a freaking joke. So you wouldn't expect any of them to have any idea what they've done. But you would expect that the masters of the universe, the titans of industry, all these geniuses who are heads of major corporations, right? These kinds of people who have amassed tens of millions, if not billions of dollars because they're so smart. You'd think those people would know better, right? Well, if you thought that, you'd be wrong. Because apparently they don't. Apparently, a lot of these guys are no better than the mindless drones in your Facebook feed. I mean, these people are truly stupid. How they've amassed such great wealth is beyond me. Now, a lot of them have just been lucky. A lot of them have inherited it, like Donald Trump himself. Anyway, there's lots of explanations, but it's not necessarily true that just because someone has achieved some impressive position as CEO of a major corporation or has amassed tens of billions of dollars that they're smart. And they're proving that to us now every single day. These people who all lined up behind Donald Trump, they were all at his inauguration. They couldn't wait to throw money at this guy. They're all backtracking. Well, not exactly backtracking. Not exactly coming out and saying that they regret their vote. But they're panicking. And you could tell they know they stepped in it. And they know that this is not what they thought they were going to get when they voted for Donald Trump and they backed him and they financed his campaign. Now, they should have known that this is what they were going to get. But here again, this is where the stupidity comes in. These are not smart people, at least not when it comes to politics, not when it comes to reading Donald Trump and understanding who this guy is. They're certainly not smart when it comes to that. Now, I want to talk about one particular person just to make the point. This guy named Bill Ackman, who is a billionaire hedge fund guy. He was all in for Donald Trump. Man, he was so excited for Donald Trump. He was like a giddy little fangirl for Trump. And I want to show you a tweet that he put out. When was this? November 12th, 2024. So 1 week after the election. Here's what genius Bill Ackman, the billionaire hedge fund guy, posted on Twitter. He wrote, "The business community is giddy with excitement." See what I told you about the little fangirl? Who uses the word giddy to describe how excited they are? When you're a billionaire hedge fund guy, you're talking about a politician that just got elected, and you're talking about how you're giddy? Does this sound any different than your average Trump cultist? No. Anyway, the business community is giddy with excitement about @real Donald Trump administration. So, see, he doesn't even write Donald Trump's administration. He has to tag Donald Trump in this tweet so that hopefully Donald Trump will see this tweet and know that Bill Ackman is publicly kissing his ass. He wants credit for the ass kissing. So friggin' pathetic. Anyways, he writes, "I am hearing this from everyone, including from people who didn't vote for Trump." Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on that. You're telling me, Ackman, that just 1 week after the election in which they did not vote for Donald Trump, suddenly in that week, they've decided, oh no, I was wrong. I'm giddy now for the Trump administration. Give me a freaking break. That's called projection. You're giddy, Ackman. You're a little fangirl. He's probably got, Trump posters on his bedroom wall. God only knows what he does when he looks at those posters when he's alone with himself. Just saying. But guess what? Bill Ackman isn't quite so giddy about Donald Trump anymore. In fact, he's panicking because of the guy that he voted for. And actually, before I get to what he's saying today, after Donald Trump's tariffs have, crashed the stock market, and God only knows how much money this guy's lost, but just a week ago, when Donald Trump first announced these tariffs in the Rose Garden, Bill Ackman could not accept the fact that Donald Trump was actually going to impose these tariffs. So he had to make excuses. Certainly, the guy who he thinks is this genius businessman would never be so stupid as to enact all these tariffs. So it had to be something else. So Ackman told, he gets on Twitter to follow up to his sycophantic tweets by saying, anyone, basically, I don't have the tweet in front of me. I looked for it. I think maybe he took it down. I don't know. I just couldn't find it. He said something to the effect of, anyone who believes that Donald Trump is actually going to go through with these tariffs is an idiot, essentially. You just don't understand the art of the deal. Donald Trump is a genius. You can't possibly relate to him. You can't possibly understand the brilliance at work behind this tariff scheme. No, what Donald Trump is doing, you see, is he's making everyone believe that he's crazy, huh? Because that's where the genius is. See, if you get world leaders to think you're crazy, then they're not going to want to mess with you. They're just going to give you whatever you want because they don't know what you're going to do because you're crazy. But see, Trump isn't really crazy. It's all an act. It's all a negotiation strategy. It's the art of the deal. That's what this guy was saying just a week ago. What's he saying today? Well, let's take a look. Here's an article from, nope, not that, from the New York Post, which is a, part of the Trump propaganda operation, generally speaking. And its headline of this story, Bill Ackman warns world is on brink of self-induced economic nuclear winter. Wow. That sounds pretty bad, Ackman. And he begs Trump to pause tariffs. Billionaire fund manager Bill Ackman, a staunch President Trump ally, has warned that the world is on the brink of, quote, self-induced economic nuclear winter. And he begged the commander-in-chief to pause his sweeping tariffs. The president has an opportunity on Monday to call a timeout and have the time to execute on fixing an unfair tariff system. Alternatively, we are headed for a self-induced economic nuclear winter. And we should start hunkering down. Oh no, I'm going to lose so much money because of this fucking guy. Oh, Ackman, you stupid, stupid man. Donald Trump was out there nearly every day for months on the campaign trail, promising to do exactly what he's doing. And you didn't believe him. You thought it was part of a genius strategy. Anyone who thinks that Donald Trump is a genius is an idiot. Donald Trump is far and away the stupidest person ever to be president. There's no brilliant strategy here. I'll tell you what's going on here. Donald Trump is a moron. Now, in his first term, he was surrounded by establishment Republicans because, see, he didn't expect to win. And so when he won, he didn't have anyone to staff his administration. So he turned to the Republican National Committee to help him staff his administration. Now, at the time, the RNC was still controlled by establishment, traditional conservative Republicans. And so they helped him staff his administration with grown-ups, with normal, sane Republicans. And so when Donald Trump wanted to do so much of the batshit crazy stuff that he wanted to, they sabotaged him. They put on the brakes. They talked him out of it. And so a lot of the crazy ass shit that he wanted to do, he didn't do. But this time, he's not constrained by rational people. His administration is entirely staffed full of lunatics who are just as crazy, if not more so, than he is. And so now he and his stupidity and his insanity are free to run wild completely unchecked. That's what's going on now. Now, a lot of us warned that this was going to happen. You didn't have to be a genius to see it, right? You don't have to be Nostradamus to understand what Donald Trump would be like in a second term. You just had to pay attention to who this guy is, things he said, things he's tried to do. But Bill Ackman didn't do that. Bill Ackman thought Donald Trump was a brilliant businessman, and he would never do anything as crazy as these tariffs. Well, Bill Ackman is big time wrong. But he's not the only one. Who else can we talk about here? How about Jamie Dimon? Let's see. There's an article about Jamie Dimon today in CNBC. Here it is. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon says Trump tariffs will boost inflation, slow an already weakening U.S. economy. Let me read just a little bit. I have this printed out for you here so I could circle a few paragraphs. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Let me just read you a few choice nuggets. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon said Monday that tariffs announced by President Donald Trump last week will likely boost prices on both domestic and imported goods, weighing down a U.S. economy that has already been slowing. See, well, I'm glad at least Jamie Dimon recognizes the fact that it's not just foreign produced goods that are going to increase in price, but also American produced goods for a couple of reasons. Number one, a lot of products made in the United States are made with raw materials and component parts that are imported. Those imports are taxed. So the inputs to produce American-made products are going to go up in price, which is going to make the overall price of the goods more expensive. On top of that, if your competitors are forced to jack up their prices because of these tariffs, that leaves you free to also raise your prices and still undercut your competitors. And that's what a lot of companies are going to do. You know, price competition brings down the prices for everyone. If your competitors' prices go up, you can raise your prices too. So that's going to happen. Let's read a little bit more of this article here. Quote, whatever you think of the legitimate reasons for the newly announced tariffs, and of course there are some, or the long-term effects, good or bad, there are likely to be important short-term effects. Dimon said we are likely to see inflationary outcomes, not only on imported goods, but on domestic prices, as input costs rise and demand increases on domestic product. Quote, whether or not the menu of tariffs causes a recession remains in question, but it will slow down growth. You don't say. Maybe you should have been saying more of this, before this guy got elected. Just a thought. Finally, he said this, or finally, it is written in this article. His remarks appear to backtrack from earlier comments he made in January, when Dimon said that people should, quote, get over tariff concerns because they were good for national security. Oh, that's right. See, that's why he wasn't going to warn anyone earlier, because he wanted Donald Trump and he was supporting the tariffs. And he told people to get over it. Anyone who was complaining about tariffs or warning that they would be a disaster, Jamie Dimon, master of the universe, said, get over it. Tariffs are good for national security. What do you think now? Is it good for national security for all our allies to abandon us? And I know this doesn't really have anything to do with tariffs, but is it good for our national security to start threatening our allies all around the world to abandon Ukraine, a country to whom we had made certain pledges? Is that good? How about to threaten Denmark with military action to steal their sovereign territory? How about threatening to take over one of our closest allies in the world, and our closest physical allies, certainly, Canada? Or how about threatening Panama? Or threatening to level the, Gaza so that you could build, a resort and casino for you and your billionaire pals? When countries around the world see you behaving like that, what they're going to do is get the hell away from us. They're going to want to cut ties with us as fast as possible. And when you elect someone who is clearly a Russian asset, as Donald Trump is, who then proceeds to put Russian assets in top administration posts, like making Tulsi Gabbard head of national intelligence, what country around the world is going to want to share intelligence with us? They might as well just call up Moscow themselves and convey that information. Anything they tell us is going straight to Vlad, right? Who's going to share information with us, intelligence with us? So as these countries distance themselves from us, as they begin to hold back on sharing intelligence with us, is that good for national security, Jamie Dimon? Did you think about that at all when you were out there, pimping for Donald Trump? Yeah, I didn't think so. You're really smart though, right? Right? That's what I'm sure you tell everybody, how friggin' smart you are. After all, you're the CEO of JP Morgan. You must be smart. Sound like a frickin' idiot to me. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh, the Wall Street Journal. Michigan, Michigan, Michigan. This is all about you guys in Michigan. Now, I can't read this whole article because it's behind a paywall, but who cares? So here's the title of this article: The First Victim of Trump's Trade War, Michigan's Economy. Now remember, Michigan voted for Donald Trump. Here's what we can read from the beginning of this article. If President Trump's trade war has a physical battleground, it is Michigan, where companies and workers are already feeling the beginning of an onslaught that could blow a hole in the state's economy. Nearly 20% of the economy is tied to the auto industry, which has become increasingly dependent on parts and vehicles from Canada, Mexico, and China. Well, isn't that a shame? And please indulge me for a second as I check a text I just came. Okay, we're good. Isn't that a shame, Michigan? For a state that is so reliant on manufacturing, perhaps you should have thought this thing through a little better. These tariffs were not a surprise, or they shouldn't have been, because Trump was out there talking about them all the time. Remember? He said, terrorists, terrorists, the most beautiful word in the English language. Terrorists, because I'm a fucking moron, and I just learned about this word yesterday. Remember? And this, we're going to make so much money with the terrorists. We're going to pay off the national debt. Remember any of that? You might have been confused, well, not confused, distracted. You might have been distracted because he also was talking about a lot of other stuff, immigrants eating cats and dogs, all that kind of stuff. Is that what made you support him, the cats and dogs thing, or was it the tariff thing? Now, you Trump cultists in Michigan, I know that none of that matters to you. You didn't even know what a tariff is. And you still don't, apparently, judging by what you guys write on social media, you still don't know what a tariff is. You think it's a tax on foreign countries. It's not, dumbasses. It's a tax on you. Anyway, if you understood any of these things, you would understand that your auto industry, as the Wall Street Journal points out, is heavily reliant on parts made in Canada and Mexico and China, all of which are going to be slapped with heavy tariffs now. So manufacturing those cars is going to be more expensive. A lot of you people are going to lose jobs. Maybe you should have thought these things through a little bit better. Or maybe you just spend all your time watching Fox News and you were led to believe that the most important issue facing the country were a handful of transgender athletes competing in high school sports. Maybe that's why you voted for Donald Trump. Like Donald Trump is what? The athletic director for all high school sports in the country? Really? Is that the issue for the President of the United States? I don't know. Judging by Fox News, you would think it is. Or maybe it was the fact that apparently I haven't actually seen this happen in real life anywhere, and I can't imagine it happens all that often, but maybe you're really upset about reports from Fox News, so, take that for what it's worth. Reports of drag queens reading storybooks to children in public libraries. I know you guys were really, really upset about that. So maybe that's the reason you decided to overlook your own economic best interest. Is that what it was? Is that it? Because if it is, that was really, really stupid. Okay, what else do we have here? Here's an article. Let's bring this one up. From Bloomberg. Let me move it over a little bit. There we go. Frustrated world leaders wonder if Trump even wants a deal. Yeah, that is a good question, because it doesn't sound like he does. Anyways, let me read just a little bit of this. With panic spreading in markets across the globe, world leaders raced over the weekend to make offers to U.S. President Donald Trump to lower tariffs across the board. The problem, however, is that it's unclear what exactly Trump would find acceptable, or if he even wants to make deals at all. Trump set a high bar on Sunday night, telling reporters that any agreements would need to eliminate bilateral trade deficits. To me, this is quoting the Orange Buffoon, to me, a deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses, or at worst, we're going to be breaking even. To me, a deficit is a loss. Well, that's because you're a moron, Donald Trump. You are a blithering idiot. So, of course, you would believe things that aren't so. Anytime there is trade, it is beneficial to both parties. Otherwise, you wouldn't make the deal. There's a buyer and a seller, both of whom decide it's in my best interest to be part of that transaction. And that's how it is, too, in international trade. No one's getting screwed. But you don't understand that because apparently you don't even know what a trade deficit is. The United States isn't losing money, you freaking moron. And this idea that we are going to have a trade surplus, in order for Donald Trump to cut any deals here, we're going to have a trade surplus or at worst break even. This doesn't even make any freaking sense. Just think about it this way. What he means by that, say we break even. That means, in his stupid mind, that we are going to demand a situation in which the other country buys as much from America as America buys from that other country. Now think about it. Do all countries have the same purchasing power? Are all countries the exact same size with the exact same degree of wealth? Let's just take Canada and the United States. The United States has 330 million people. Canada has about 40 million people. Now, who do you think is going to be in a position to buy more from the other country? Will 330 million Americans be able to buy more from Canada? Or will Canada be able, and their 40 million, be able to buy more from the United States? How the hell are you ever going to have a trade balance between 330 million people and 40 million people? Or how about Vietnam? I wrote this one down. Vietnam has about 100 million people, less than a third the size by population of the United States, and far less wealthy. They don't have nearly the money that we have in the United States. Yet we're going to demand either that we run a trade surplus with Vietnam, meaning they're going to buy more from us than we buy from them, or at worst, again, we break even. So we're going to buy as much from them as they buy from us. This is insanity. This is the mind of an imbecile that says things like this. This is why I say Donald Trump is the stupidest man ever to be president. And yet, masters of the universe like Jamie Dimon and, giddy little schoolgirl Bill Ackman, they voted for Trump because he's so damn smart. Good Lord. I think I've talked enough in this video. I've got more to say, but I'm going to leave this for another video. This is what happens when people don't take their vote seriously. This is what happens when people, like the masters of the universe, instead of taking the information that we have or had at our disposal about Donald Trump, all the indications that this is a really stupid man, a really corrupt man, a real criminal, instead of taking all that into account, these people instead projected what they want to believe about him onto him and pretended that were true. They wanted to believe that Donald Trump is a brilliant businessman, despite all the evidence to the contrary. They wanted to believe that he really cares about other people and what's in the best interest of the United States, in spite of all the evidence to the contrary. So they voted for Donald Trump. And how many billions of dollars have these geniuses already lost? And how many more billions of dollars are these geniuses going to lose? And I know a lot of them voted because Donald Trump was promising massive tax cuts for the wealthy. Well, guess what? Those tax cuts aren't going to come anywhere close to making up for the money that they're going to lose because Donald Trump is destroying the economy. These are not smart people. These are stupid people. Profoundly stupid people. As are all the mindless drones who sit on their couches night after night watching Fox News, just hypnotizing themselves till they drool all over themselves and someone has to push them awake into coherence and they, where am I? Sean Hannity, Sean Hannity. These people are insane, either by choice or because they're too stupid not to be. Not insane in the technical medical sense of the word, just insane in that they're acting against their own best interests. If you really don't know what the hell you're voting on, you shouldn't vote. You know, the founders warned that this country would only succeed and this democracy would only continue so long as the American people, at least the voting population, were well informed and educated. Sadly, we have neither. And now we're suffering the consequences. Good job, America. Way to go. Dumbasses.